into what exactly is and what does it mean for those of us who have it, and also for those of us who don't have it. What can we glean out of what others with diabetes are doing to help elevate our lives? So we'll just get right into it. What is diabetes, Kevin? The floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 2. We're excited to be with you for this half an hour or so. What is type 1, type 2? We'll get into type 2 later, but there's a lot of misconceptions. And I think you have to start with credibility. Obviously, Jack and I are both type 1 diabetics. So, talking about something is a lot different than having it, right? So what is it? So basically, our bodies attacked itself at some point in our life. Now, Jack and I are very rare humans. We have all 3 autoimmunes of the endocrine system. But type 1 diabetes, Jack was 2 years old. Good Lord, his parents should win a medal for having to deal with that. I was in my 20s, thankfully. But our bodies attack the islet cells within our pancreas. So our pancreas isn't like non-functioning, but our islet cells, right, that make insulin are non-functioning. The body attacks itself. So 150
Autoimmune.
years ago, autoimmune disorder, right?
Mm.
So most people don't understand the differences. They think, oh, you ate sugar or something. When people say that usually someone has to get my hand off their neck because they don't understand, right? They're like, oh, you ate sugar and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I get it. People don't understand because they're self-involved into what they have going on. But type 1 is a very particular, and I always say it's the 24-hour disease, right? There is no break. There is no rest. There is no time you can take your foot off the pedal. 24 hours a day, you need to know what's going on with your diabetes. Right, Jack?
Yeah. So because type 1, it's not a question of what you ate. I think with type 2, it's a lot of lifestyle factors.
Yes.
And they do have to do with you eating too much sugar. That maybe applies to type 2s, but it doesn't at all apply to type 1s. And so just to back up quickly, it is an autoimmune disorder. And so what is an autoimmune disorder, Kevin?
An autoimmune disorder is when the body mistakes something, an organ, your adrenals, your pancreas, right? Or your thyroid as a foreign invader. There's something going on there. Something sparked that condition. Now, my grandfather was a diabetic. My mom's a diabetic. My cousin. So there's something there. And the body could be years, attacking that area until all of a sudden you have a crisis, whether it's Addisonian crisis, type 1 diabetes crisis, whatever it is, where the body kicks on. So the body attacks itself, the inflammation, and Jack and I can sit there and tell you about the years before we were diagnosed for different diseases that we have, right? Where our body was extremely inflamed.
Yeah, your immune system is essentially saying, "Oh, this shouldn't be here. We need to get rid of it."
Yep.
But in our case, no, we need the pancreas. Don't do that.
Don't do that. And then we're
yeah.
So type 2, guys, being in functional health for years, is a insulin resistance. It is not really even diabetes. I wish they would rename it for people that developed it, because I think it would help them manage it better. Hey, listen, you're not a diabetic. You have type 2. Your body is resisting the absorption of insulin. In 99% of cases of type 2 diabetes, the pancreas and the islet cells are functioning normally, but your cells are not absorbing the insulin into the cell based on an inflammatory response from the body. So if you dial in your health and take care of yourself, a very high percentage of people change your food, lower inflammation, and allow those cells to absorb the insulin again, you can really get rid of that type 2 diabetes. You don't need to be on metformin. You don't need to be on a GLP-1, right? If you can reverse it. And then really every type 2 I say, listen, you don't want to be insulin dependent, right? You don't want to live the life we live that we have no choice that you do. So take care of yourself, and you can really reverse it. It is a resistance disease.
Yeah, well said. It's true. Type 1, it's like you have it and there's no way around it. Type 2 is like you have it, but it's a question of there have been cascading issues over however much time that have led you to become quote unquote type 2 diabetic. But it starts with, yeah, insulin resistance. Then it goes to pre-diabetes, which is essentially insulin resistance over a long period of time. And then it's
Yep.
type 2 diabetes, where it's like this insulin resistance has cemented itself in your body as something that you now need to take medications to try to get more insulin sensitive and less insulin resistant. Yeah.
Yeah, and it can develop, like with my mother, it can develop into those genes kicking on later in life because you've been so resistant for so long and so metabolically unstable,
Yeah.
okay, that it does turn into a full-blown late adult onset. They'll call it type 1, where there's now the islet cells are destroyed, the body. So it can develop into that, but
Yeah.
generally it doesn't need to.
Mhm. It's interesting because I know people who are like type 1.5. They've gone from like type 2 and now they're type 1.5. I don't think they
Yeah.
ever get to type 1, but they get to type 1.5. And I think I'm just going off the beat here, and maybe it's a question of like your immune system is like, okay, there is something wrong here. You know, after a
Sure.
while, your immune system is like, this isn't functioning properly, so we need to get rid of it. And in an attempt to make you more insulin sensitive, get rid of the insulin resistance and the inflammation, your immune system actually starts to attack the pancreas slash islet cells. I don't know if that's true. I'm
Well,
just
I
having
mean, if you look at anyone who becomes a type 2 diabetic, right? I worked with doctors that deal with these issues
yeah,
in the functional health world. They're always metabolically unstable. So what does that mean? It means that your cells will absorb carbohydrates and bring in the protein and the fats and use it within your body, right? Remember, every part of your body is made up of cells. So when you become extremely unstable, you build a lot of inflammation in those cells, and you stop absorbing these things, right? Your mitochondria at the base inside your cell is unstable now, which can cause a lot of issues. I think we see it a lot in the US through seed oils and garbage and terrible water and processed food and sugar and everything, and just all that instability can cause issues, right, at the end of the day. But most people, Jack, I think you would agree, when we meet them and they're type 1, they're generally usually very healthy people and health conscious because they got it when they were young and they
yeah,
changed their identity at a very young age. Type 2, usually people get it in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. The chance of changing their identity is much lower. Habits are kind of installed. So people really struggle with that disease, even though it really honestly doesn't compare to type 1. Type 1, Jack and I, boom, we were insulin dependent, pricking our finger, checking our blood, getting low, waking up in pools of sweat, injecting. I mean, I took 20,000 shots before
yeah,
I moved to an insulin pump, just to give
sure,
you an idea of what
yeah,
that looks like. So,
yeah. Like upwards of 10 a day sometimes. Yeah,
yeah, adjusting. I mean, waking up in the middle of the night low. I mean, and then
yeah,
Jack, let's talk, because this is where you really shine here. Is the blood sugar, energy, mood. Give us an idea of how blood sugar affects your body under
yeah.
the.
So I think, just to kind of compare and contrast type 1s and type 2s, like type 1s, and this is, I'm just speaking from personal experience, the highs and the lows are big. Like when my blood sugars are too high, it feels like I have like felt ropes tied around my eyeballs and they're being pulled up out of my head. It's just such an uncomfortable feeling. And you know, you get frustrated and you get angry and it's just, you feel helpless. And then you go, your blood sugars go low. And I look at it as like a car not having enough gas in it. It's just not going to run. And for us, what's not running is our hormonal system, because our hormone, as soon as your blood sugars go too low, your body is releasing cortisol saying alert, 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 alert. Not enough sugar in your blood, in your bloodstream, in your body. Fix this issue now. And so there's a whole hormonal cascade that comes along with um, type 1 and being low, type 1 and being high. When you can find yourself in the sweet spot, that feels so good. But it's really intense mentally to go through type 1 diabetes. The highs
Yeah.
and the lows are extreme. I think with type 2, and I can't speak from experience because I'm not a type 2, just but from observing, it's more of like you said, you're kind of maybe cemented in your ways, and the resistance to change is a lot higher. For us, type 1s, it's like sink or swim, like figure it out or
Or
die.
die.
Yeah. For type 2s, it's like, yeah, like I have a bit of an issue, but like, I'll just take a pill and I'll be fine. And like, it's a bummer. I think a lot of people dial in and they're like, okay, like we need to eat cleaner. We need to get more physical activity to get insulin sensitivity up, to get things coursing better throughout our system. But I think a lot of people also say, okay, let's just take the pill and like, it's not a huge issue. It'll figure itself out. We just, we need the pill.
Yeah. And we're not
Yeah.
trying to shit on type 2. It's a different
No.
disease, right? It
Yeah.
should not be called diabetes. Is it
Yeah.
insulin resistance disease? There's a
Yeah.
whole way to handle type 2, right? And there's a different way to handle type 1. Type 1 is immediate insulin, right? Dependence. And type 2 is something where you're metabolically unhealthy.
Yeah, the pancreas is tired. That's the way I see it. Type 1 is like the pancreas is like, okay, sayonara. Good luck figuring it out. There's type 2,
Jack,
it's like, tell me.
that's a misconception too. Not that the pancreas is tired, but that's a misconception that the pancreas is the main culprit of type 2. And generally it's not.
Yeah.
Generally, believe it or not, and most people don't look at this level, right? The pancreas can get tired and fizzle out, and you can become type 1.5 like my mom did. But really, it starts out being metabolically unhealthy, having high blood sugars, right? Your body not absorbing the insulin through the cells, right? Through the cell membrane, which every part of your body needs to. And then here's another part of it, Jack, that people don't talk about that I have a lot of experience in the functional health space is when you run high blood sugars for decades and decades and decades, now you're talking about dementia. Right? Type 3 diabetes is what they call dementia now because you've pushed so much inflammation. Your blood sugars have been high for so long. You've been so metabolically unstable that now that excess glucose has affected the way your brain functions. And in the US, we're seeing
your brain of the nutrients.
Dementia sweeping the globe.
Yeah, you're right. I think it leads to other dementia, Alzheimer's. There's many different things, many different
erectile dysfunction, right? Any type of where the body is working with the endocrine system, you're going to deal with those issues, which is you're going to generally see, not always, you're going to generally see a person with a large belly because their visceral fat around their organs is heavy, right? And then their blood sugars are high, right? And it happens for decades and decades.
Yeah. The way I've always been told, I forget who told it to me. So somebody told me, picture a vein or a blood vessel, and you've got the normal amount of sugar going through the vessel. And then when you've got too much sugar and it's unregulated, there's more of it. And then it starts to stick to the blood vessel walls. And then it starts to stick more and more. And then the amount of blood that's actually circulating through your blood vessels is not enough. And then the nutrients required to get through to all the different parts of your body to feed your body appropriately is just not there. So to go to blood sugar, to talk about blood sugars, talk about energy, to talk about mood. If your blood sugars are in check, your energy is in check because you're getting, like I said, all the nutrients that you require to feed yourself for tip-top performance. And that then goes into mood. If your body is in check and you have got the energy to go through each day feeling good, then your mood will generally be pretty good too. When your blood sugars are out of whack, when they're too low, like I was saying earlier, it's the hormonal cascade of like, the sirens going on and feed me, or else I'm going to die. I've been through depression once or twice, or maybe even more. Like, how do you quantify depression? I've probably been depressed for like days at a time, or like one day, and then I go back to feeling better when my blood sugars are in check, when they weren't too low. But when your blood sugars go too low, you feel helpless, you feel hopeless, you feel depressed, you just feel like no energy.
Well, your body's alarm systems turn on, right? Because when you start to get low, your body's starving, right? And your brain is starving of glucose. So what happens, Jack? All of our alarm systems turn on. Our body sweats profusely. Our heart rate goes up. It's almost like a panic attack. It's probably the best way to explain it.
He's saying panic.
It's literally a panic attack. And you're like, and I mean, I've been lifting before we had the continuous glucose monitors. Thank God for companies like Dexcom and them that make these, because this is a game changer. I'd be at the gym doing legs, and all of a sudden it would hit me. And man, I'm out. Like I'm sitting on the floor sucking a honey packet. And when I'm done, from getting really low, I'm done. Like there is no more lifting. It's time to go home. Your body is smoked.
Yeah.
Jack's
God,
been there
yeah.
before many times.
Yeah. Like, I remember once when I was like probably 12 years old, I was at a tennis camp and I was just playing tennis all day. And that was at the time when there wasn't continuous glucose monitors. You were just pricking your finger. And my blood sugars had run so low that I was spiraling. And it's kind of like being drunk, but without the alcohol. Like you kind
Yeah.
of lose your sense of like orientation, and like you lose the sense of like, we need help now and we need sugar. You don't know how to vouch for yourself when you get too low. I remember I started bawling my eyes out. I was like a total mess. They gave me Gatorade. I came back too, but like you said, I was so shook that the rest of the day was a write-off. And that's, I think, one of the toughest things for a type 1 is like when your blood sugars go low, the rest of your day is a write-off. Like your body is so cooked after that that you need to just chill. And
It's
it's
like
tough.
you ran a marathon.
Yeah, and it's tough because like in society, it's like go, 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 like perform, perform, perform. And when you have to take a day to like figure yourself out, and it's your body, you have to listen to it. That's when I think you can get really, I get hard on myself, and the depression seep in. And
Jack,
but
I
yeah.
was speaking at an event one time and there was probably, it wasn't a big event. It was more like 50 people. And it was before the continuous glucose. Now I've spoken, this isn't a flex. It's just telling you how difficult Jack and ours lives have been with type 1, trying to figure it out.
Mhm.
With the continuous glucose monitor now I know where I'm at, right?
Every 5 minutes.
But I'm sitting there speaking, and all of a sudden I start slurring my words. I start getting sweaty. I'm like, oh my gosh. And you kind of get belligerent, right? Like
Yeah,
if you start to get low, you're like, what the hell are you looking at? So I'm like, hey, we need to take a break. Let's do a bathroom break. I go in the bathroom. I realize, oh my gosh, I think I pricked my finger. I was like 42, which is very low. And all I had was Skittles. I didn't have juice. I didn't have anything good. I had Skittles in my pocket. It was the worst thing you can eat. So I'm like choking on these Skittles. I'm in there. I'm not coming up because it takes a while for your body to absorb the glucose. That's why a juice would be much quicker. A honey packet would be much quicker. Then I walk, grab a banana. And then I got a crowd of 50 people waiting for me.
Yes,
and that's happened to me dozens and dozens and dozens of times.
You feel so vulnerable in that state. It's such a bad place to be. I hate that.
And you're just up there, just, you're doing what you do. And I've been high like that where I've done talks for 2 hours where I was in the 300s the whole time.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, you're kind of, it's like you have the flu.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's part of the deal. And I think this is the thing we should chat about, Jack, is I think people that deal with autoimmune and life stuff and people that deal with cancer and all these things, I think people, they become more resilient from it. And life is hard. And the more hard things you go through, the more resilience you build. The more resilience you build, the more that life's normal pitfalls don't affect guys like you and I, right? I think we're built differently now because we've dealt with so much stress in our body that when stuff hits the fan and everyone else is panicking around us, if you can look to a type 1 diabetic, usually they're in the zone taking care of business because they've been there thousands of times.
Unless their blood sugar is too low or too high.
Thousands of times. They're used to chaos. And so like Jack and I, we're going to have our buddy Cameron on at some point here. And he's a type 1, one of the most successful guys I know. Why? Resilience, grittiness. He's had it since he was 5. Jack's had it since he was 2. Jack's super successful. I can't tell you I'm successful because then I'd be talking about myself. But, anyway, so resilience and that grittiness, there's actually a great book behind me called Grit by Angela Duckworth. Great book on just, man, it's not you being born with this like gene of greatness. It's grittiness. It's being willing to go through crap.
Ringer time and time again. And time again, finding the ability to come out on the other side. And I'll there are many of these memories, but I'll just give you another one now. Another one on top of the tennis one. Like I remember I must have been like between 10 and 13, and I was with my family, and my blood sugars were super low, and when your blood, this is for me anyways, my blood sugars go low, I kind of just like, I don't want anybody around, I'm just like, leave me alone. Like, I'm angry and I'm upset, and this is in the heat of the moment of a low. This isn't the depression side yet, that has yet to come, but like, you're just angry and you're just like, my way or the highway, but you don't even know what your way is. You're just like totally lost in this delusion of anger and I'm right. And so I went into the woods because I was low, and I was just sitting there sobbing, just angry at the world, thinking, this isn't fair. And I was just, swearing and just being so
How old were
upset.
you, Jack?
I don't know, probably like 10 to 13,
Oh yeah.
somewhere,
See, I didn't
somewhere in the
deal with
world.
it as a kid like you, man. That must have been difficult.
Yeah, just dealing with like, growing up in high school and like not being able to fit in and like
Yeah.
stupid, like I didn't have the cool clothes or like whatever it was. Like,
Well, and
but
you
then
had the
on the
diabetes, you know.
diabetes. Yeah. And I was just like, I hate my life. And I was like, you know, I have wanted to end my life. And I know I say that very casually, but I've wanted to end my life more than once. Right now, if you ask me that, I would say, of course not. There's so much to live for. But sometimes when you're in the heat of the moment of like a really tough time, you're not, you're thinking clearly in that state of mind, but like, boy. And so, all of those really difficult times that I've been through, as much I look back on it now and I have much more awareness and more insight into why I was acting the way I was acting and why I was feeling the way I was feeling, kind of giving myself a bit of grace. But it's those moments that have made me who I am today.
Yep.
Yeah, it would have been great to
In the
never
storm.
through that. Yeah, in the storm is
So,
actually,
so
bro, when you have to face adversity is is when you probably see the most growth,
100%.
Everything is comfortable and everything is easy, like, and I think a lot of like people who are like aspirational leaders who we all look up to, they all say the same thing, like, face your fears, it'll make you grow. Go through hard times. That'll carve you in stone who you want to be, kind of thing. So,
And this
yeah.
is where we bring in our significant others, where we talk about
Yeah.
what they have to deal with, right? Like I've been with my wife and I have been together since high school. We've been married 23 years. So she's
Yeah.
been through this whole journey with me. She's heard the alarm in the middle of the night and my Dexcom. Burp, burp, burp. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. 2 in the
so
morning. Straight up awake
yeah,
now.
many
Yeah.
thousand times. And
Mhm.
obviously it happens a lot less these days because I wear an insulin pump,
Yeah.
continuous glucose monitor that talk to each other. They call it a closed loop system. So I rarely get low anymore.
That's amazing.
Really, to be honest with you, almost never.
I
But
think
for,
the only times that I go low is when I give myself too much insulin because I'm eating a lot of carbs.
yeah, and Jack is he's living in the Flintstone era. He's still injecting, like he's just like, I'm not gonna catch up to technology, right? I'm just gonna,
Yeah.
he's a real man. Like Jack
Yeah.
lives, he kills the bear, sleeps in the carcass, drags home the meat to his family.
Yeah.
Me, I go to Whole Foods and that's where I shop.
Yeah.
Do you feel that's accurate, Jack?
Yeah, to an extent. I feel like, we both have our crosses to bear, and we do the best that we can with what we've got. I just sweat so much. Like, I'm a pretty big athlete, and I like to run into things. I'm a bit clumsy. I'll like walk into the side of a wall as I'm like changing rooms, and then like, oh no, the is ripped off.
So, Jack, in our last 5 minutes,
Yeah,
let's bring it in, okay? And let's talk about, because we have three autoimmunes, right? And we're managing them all. How do you think? Because I'll talk to other type ones that don't have Addison's, that don't have hypothyroidism. It's
sure.
definitely different.
Yeah,
So, how do you manage type one, where type one is only a piece of the puzzle? For most type ones, type
yeah,
one is the thing that in their life revolves around. It does for us too, but we
yeah.
oftentimes, Jack and I are chatting about our Addisons and how that
Mhm.
affects, and electrolytes and hydrocortisone and all that. So,
Yeah,
what are the things, Jack, that you really have to think about having three autoimmunes, being rare humans with your type one?
sure. So diabetes is essentially your pancreas produces insulin. That insulin takes the carbohydrates, and just so people know, carbohydrates equals carbohydrates, fiber, and sugar. Carbohydrates, fiber, and sugar are all carbohydrates. They take the carbohydrates that enter your bloodstream as glucose. Insulin then transports that glucose either into energy that you can use then and there, or it stores it for fat later on. Um, for me as a diabetic, and this is one of those things where like it applies for me as a type 1, because like it's do or die. I have to, or I don't have to. I do, and I've found my diabetes is so much better controlled. Type 2s stand to benefit from this as well, because this will help them with insulin, bringing down insulin resistance, bringing up insulin sensitivity. And then this just also applies to anybody. Like this isn't just diabetics. And so the more because I'm a type 1, I have to give myself synthetic insulin, the hormone that my pancreas produces. Because mine is synthetic, it doesn't adapt to everything else that's going on in my body. Let's say I'm having a really stressful day. I don't public speak like Kevin, but like let's say I got in front of a room of 50 people. I'm a really shy guy. I would be really nervous. Cortisol would be flooding through my veins. I'd be super, that feeling when you're like, you got to do something stressful.
Jack would be sweating.
Oh, it's buckets. Yeah.
Jack, you are not a shy guy. I don't know where that came up in your identity, but that is not true.
Yeah.
You are very outgoing.
Thanks. Yeah. But it's the type 1 diabetes. That's like one of those things that I have in the back of my mind. Like I'm so scared of going low and I'm so scared of going high. Like that makes me not as confident. Anyways. Because my insulin doesn't react well and very cohesively with my body. If I'm super anxious or stressed, my insulin resistance will go up. If I've just done a workout and I'm chilling, my insulin sensitivity is going to be super high, because when you're lifting weights, your muscles turn into sinkholes for glucose, your insulin sensitivity goes through the roof. So for me, insulin is really tough. When I'm giving myself, the margin of error gets bigger the more insulin you give yourself. So for me as a type 1, what I do to really dial in my blood sugars to give myself better energy and a better mood day in and day out, I eat really low carb. Because what happens when you're eating following a low carbohydrate lifestyle, you don't have to give yourself as much insulin, because the insulin is used to break down carbohydrates. I'll give you an example. Last night, against my better judgment, but I had a burger and I had fries for dinner. Fantastic. But
worth it.
Yeah, worth it for sure. And like I eat low carb 6 out of 7 days. Like I'm pretty dialed in most of the time, but I indulge. Of course, we're only human. My blood sugars, because of the difficulty to kind of balance how carbohydrates are going into your system and going into your bloodstream and the amount of insulin you're giving yourself. Like I gave myself 10 units of insulin first thing. My blood sugars went low because the fat, protein, and carbohydrates hadn't broken down into my body. So I went low. I had to give myself a correction. In the middle of the night, I'm 14. And I'm like, Christ almighty. So I had to give myself more.
Now, Jack, what does that mean? What's 14? We're in America. Okay. This is not a Canadian podcast.
No. Yeah.
We do not understand the metrics. The whole world does metric system. In the US, we do not.
There's a lot of Canadians that use your system too. I feel like I'm probably the minority of how you count your blood sugars. But the long and short is I had a ton of carbohydrates. My blood sugars went low. They went high. And I ended up having to give myself 20 units of insulin. For breakfast this morning, I had a tablespoon of psyllium husk. I had 6 eggs, 3 pieces of cheese, and 2 breakfast sausages. I gave myself 2 units of insulin. And I've been
to cover all the fat and everything, because you were going to push, insulin to break that down as well. But if you had 2 pieces of toast with it, you would have to take 8 units, right?
Yeah.
So Jack, I had the same thing last night. So, and here's another variable. When you eat out, you're also getting the inflammatory response of the garbage in the food when we eat out.
What's in your food, yeah.
The seed oils, right? Like let me give you an example. I met my brother earlier this week. I had a burger with no bun and I had fries, but the fries were cooked in tallow, beef fat. Okay. Right. And I think Jack's taking an insulin shot right now. So we're in action right now. Like, guys, this is real world. I want to say a curse word. Anyways, so I had a burger with no bun, but I had a whole thing of fries and they were cooked in tallow. I felt the best I've ever felt having carbs like that.
Interesting. All right.
So there's a piece people don't think about. Now, last night, my wife and I had a beer this big, right? And we had dinner. and I probably had 50 grams of carbs at dinner, right? It was YOLO, right? And I got home and I was running like 250. So I think I took 8 units, and then I took 4 more units, and then I took 2 more units, and then I took 2 more units. And I was kind of high all night. Why?
Yeah,
yes, I had carbs, I had fat. I didn't really go off the reservation that bad with my food, but I also had alcohol. So carbs, fat, alcohol, seed oils, which is garbage, inflammatory response. Here's the thing we never talk about. Now the cells are not absorbing the insulin. Plus, Jack and I have Addison, so our adrenals are off. It's dealing with the stress by using more cortisol, which makes us more insulin resistance. And it's just a freaking spiral of frustration for guys like Jack and I, because we can't get a hold of it. And it just got to run its course for like 12 hours.
Yeah. And, you know, this applies to me and Kevin. This applies to everybody. Eating lower carbohydrates.
They just don't know.
Really helps you because you don't have to give yourself as much insulin. And like, as much as we're giving ourselves synthetic insulin, Kevin and I, like, every single pancreas produces insulin. But I think that's one of those things. And I think, you know, I think in health and wellness right now, it's all about like gut health and fiber and protein. But it's like, why? Like, what in your body is like, you know, what levers in your body are moving? And like, it's cool, Kev, because think about it. Like for us, insulin is a huge lever. If we know that like our pancreas is producing a lot of insulin, that's not necessarily a good thing because it's making blood sugars a lot more difficult to control. If we can really tone down the amount of insulin we're giving ourselves, it makes everything so much steadier.
And insulin is an aging hormone. So if we're talking about longevity, Jack, we want the least amount of insulin in the body. So if you're not a diabetic, you're probably not listening this far into the podcast. But like when you eat and you go walk after and you level your insulin, right? You keep that insulin from spiking. You're adding, number one, years to your life, right? You're adding, you know, longevity to your skin, right? I mean, you're adding all these things for longevity in your body. And so
go ahead.
So anyways, it's just things to think about, right? And Jack,
felt like your heart has gotten really tired after giving yourself a really large dose of insulin?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day,
you like feel drained and you're just like, oh, I feel so crummy. And I
felt crummy so many times, Jack. Feeling normal feels different. So Jack, we're at 33 minutes. Let's do our last thoughts. I want you to go first. So give us an idea, right? Give the audience an idea that are diabetics, maybe struggling with their blood sugar, right? What are give me a couple tips that can really help them.
Yeah, for sure. Lifting weights, not necessarily cardio. What I've learned is like during cardio, you're only burning calories while you're doing the cardio work. And then after that, you go right back into a state of like, and then your body is saying, I need more calories for the next time. I need more fat stored in for the next time that I do one of those cardiovascular sessions. So cardio is actually not good for insulin sensitivity as far as I'm concerned. And I could be wrong. Lifting weights, though, is a total game changer when it comes to, you know, it comes to longevity. It comes to like being able to stand up straight and tall. It comes to like having your hips and your legs when you're in your 60s and your 70s. It comes to blood sugar stability, which then staves off Alzheimer's and dementia and all these other chronic health issues. Lifting weights versus cardio and eating low carb. That's for me the number. Like they're both amazing. You need them both. You can't just do one and expect everything to happen perfectly.
Yeah, those are great tips, Jack. And you're right. Lifting is anaerobic. Cardio is aerobic. Jack said it perfectly. Your muscles are a sinkhole for insulin. If you are not lifting weights, you're missing the boat in a big way. And so when you lift, I've watched Andrew Huberman before, and they go, well, how much carbs do you have? Blah, blah. He goes, it depends if I lift. If I weight train that day, then I'm going to add carbs before and after weight training. Days I don't weight train as hard, I'm going to have very little carbs and go higher fat and things like that. So here's my tip for you. Diabetics. It's not just carbohydrates that affect your blood sugar. It's also fat, right? If you eat a slice of pizza, you're getting carbs on the front end, but you're getting fat on the back end, and you're getting calories. So one of the things that I've noticed over the years is that you'll run high for hours and hours because, like Jack said, you're still digesting all the fat from that meal later on, whereas you're getting carbs on the front end. So an extended bolus can be a magical piece of the puzzle for those on a pump, meaning let's say you're going to do 10 units. If I was with Jack last night, it's like, hey, Jack, do 12 units, but only do 6 right now. Because Jack jammed all 10 units in, he got low. And then he got high later. So an extended bolus, you can do 6 now, and an hour later, it'll start to slowly push in that other 6. Those extended boluses can really help. Now, if you're injecting insulin, split up your dose as well. So if you're going to have a bigger meal, you're going to have fat, you're going to have carbs, you're going to have it all together, extend that out a little bit, right? Don't just think about when you eat the meal, think about later as well. And especially if you add alcohol to it, right? Because alcohol at the end of the day is one of the biggest dangers for type 1 because it's going to push your blood sugars up. But then when you go to bed at night, your body's going to clean the alcohol out of your body, but it's also going to pull glucose out of your body. So if you're a big drinker and you're a type 1 diabetic, you're going to get low in the middle of the night, which can be extremely dangerous as well. So be very, very cognizant of it. I would highly recommend any type 1 diabetic to not get inebriated where you are not in control anymore, because it's just a bad situation. Like, you need to be in control. You need to be able to wake up in the middle of the night if you're low. And I think that's where diabetics run into big trouble, is they get drunk and they go party and they wake up in the middle of the night and they don't wake up. And Jack could tell you stories of that in college, in university with that. So that's my tip. Jack had his tip. Anything to say on that, Jack?
No, I think just to wrap, I want to reiterate what we said at the end of episode 1. Like, we're here to share our stories and to get more people kind of dialed into this. If anybody is listening to this and they want to talk about this, like, I'm not saying like comment on our podcast and like, we'll respond.
Feel free to comment.
Feel free to comment. But like, if you actually want to like talk about it, because you're like, I don't know how to do this, or like, I want help
deeper question,
something else, like, give us a shout and like, let us actually get on a call with you and like walk through it with you. I think Kevin and I know what we know. We definitely don't know everything. And we're like, the reason we started this podcast is because we're so hungry for information. We want to know more. And I think the more people that we can get sharing their stories, the more Kevin and I can know, selfishly, but then the more you can know too. So please, if anybody has anything they want to talk about or get on a call or whatever, we have an email, somerarehumans@gmail.com. Give us a shout and let's chat. Really, it would make my heart so happy.
Yeah, you have a question, right? I mean, oftentimes you'll get parents, their kids are new type 1 diabetic, right?
Yeah.
There's questions. I mean, Jack and I can save you 10 years of anguish from a simple structure of how to think about things and all that. So any questions that ever come up, but here's what I'd say. Jack, always a pleasure to be with you, my friend. In the middle of our podcast, Jack pulled out an insulin pen and took a shot. This is real world shiz, you guys. We're not freaking messing around. This is life or death. We got honey packets. We got insulin pens. Like, this is our life. And guess what? Just because this is our life doesn't mean Jack and I can't live a phenomenal life. High performing in every area of our life with these diseases, and you can too.
Rock and
roll. So Jack, beautiful to be with you, my friend.
Yeah, you too. We'll see you guys next week.
All right, everybody.